Welcome back to another episode of Decoded, a Lost Codex Podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'm the writer, director, and narrator for the Lost Codex episodes. Today we are here with episode 25 of Decoded, and I'm joined once again by Jay the Bard. Welcome, Jay the Bard. I'm looking in your general direction over here, even though you're not next to me. Hello, Jay. Welcome back. Welcome back.
It is great to be back here in the Sanctum. I see you haven't dusted off anything here.
No, that's part of the charm is to keep it super dusty. Last time you were on was episode 7, where we covered the origin stories of Jay the Bard and BlizzCon 2017, and the 5 minutes in which we met and then never saw each other ever again. Though that'll change in the weeks to come. For those of you who don't know who Jay the Bard is, Jay the Bard won the talent contest for BlizzCon 2017. And last year, just go search Jay the Bard BlizzCon 2017 on YouTube, and you will see many compilation videos of him running out on stage, whipping off his sunglasses, stuff like that. So he's also in Borealis. You might recognize the name because Jay the Bard. What's the name of the tavern you're in? Do you remember the name of the tavern? I always
Hops, Line, and Sinker.
I love it. And that's in Borealis, so you can actually find Jay with his beanie and his black beard and his loot in game. Guys, today we are here for episode 25, as I just said, and it's a very special episode because in the weeks to come, we're going to be talking about BlizzCon. BlizzCon, TwitchCon, more BlizzCon. But I'll admit, I struggled with this week's podcast, and there's a reason for that. You know, I have so many podcasts planned. I have a Jaina podcast planned, and a Magar podcast planned, and a Death podcast planned for you, Spalander. BlizzCon podcast coming up with Jay in the weeks to come, but I was like, what can I talk about this week? And I realized that the struggle, and Highborn podcast, yes, the struggle of podcasting itself, that would have been too meta. But what about content creation? What about the ins and outs? I get so many questions, dozens of questions a week asking me the process, the struggles, the pros and cons of content creation. And I thought, who not better to bring on than Jay the Bard. So Jay, tell those who are listening about what your show is, what your content is.
Sure, no problem, man. So on my show, we have a show called the Bard's Tavern podcast, right? And originally this show started off as a metal radio show on college campus, and it started evolving into doing more content for covering conventions. But then we took a direction that we wanted to really focus on certain subjects. You don't want to go in too many different directions with it. So we started doing more video game content, and we now cover conventions. We interview voice actors. We just actually had Patty Madsen, the voice of Sylvanas Windrunner, on our show. And this week we actually have Esfon TV, who is, a big content creator here on Twitch TV, especially a big pusher for the WoW Classic community. And we interview guests like this so people have a chance to get to know them, where their origins. But sometimes we even have fun. We have metal bands, and we have just regular stories we talk about too.
You guys had Sylvanas on last week. That was, or a couple weeks ago. That was fun. That was I didn't get to tune in to the actual live podcast, but I watched it after, and that was really cool. So for those of you who haven't checked out Jay's channel, links are down below. Jay gets to interview. If you're a fan of the Overwatch community or the Overwatch cast, so many people from that character cast, Jay's had a chance to interview. Brigitte, help me out here, Sombra, I believe you've interviewed Symmetra?
Yes, and for the Brigitte one, we were the first American of any show to interview Matilda Smedius, the voice of Brigitte. And interesting enough, she was actually just down here back in September, and I got to take her and her brother to go. We went out to dinner. It was her brother, myself, her, and then we had Elise Zhang, the voice of May. We went to get sushi together, and then we went out to San Francisco and showed them around downtown Sacramento as well. We had a great time.
That is dope. So guys, check out Jay's Twitch podcast down below, and keep an eye out on his social media pages for announcements on who he's interviewing next. We'll be revealing that later on in the podcast. But let's get down to some weekly news here with some pretty shocking news. It always seems to be around this time of year, either a little bit before BlizzCon or a little bit after BlizzCon. There's always someone steps down, whether it's Chris Metzen, Ben Brode, Dave Kozak. Thankfully didn't step down, he swapped teams, but recently it feels like we've all lost our forefather of Blizzard. Mike Morhaime has stepped down as the top chief, the war chief of Blizzard, and J. Allen Brack has stepped up. For those of you who don't know, J. Allen Brack has been at Blizzard for a long time. He has been one of the leading heads on the World of Warcraft team. He recently did a short stream where they announced the BlizzCon plans for Classic WoW with Ian, and man, I had to reread that. I kept seeing posts about Mike Morhaime stepping down, and I thought, no. And it was true. Jay, what went through your head when you saw that?
Well, first I gotta point out, it actually was a typo. It's not actually J. Allen Brack who is now president. What they meant to say was Jay the Bard is the new president of Blizzard Entertainment.
Oh,
that's actually the real truth.
That's what we're here to announce.
No, but also just know, it's crazy, man, because he's one of the originals. He's one of the forefathers of Blizzard Entertainment.
Yeah.
I have never had the opportunity to meet him, and I'm hoping he will still be around to where I get to meet him at BlizzCon this year. But it's very emotional because, I mean, like you just said, you mentioned names such as Chris Metzen, who retired from Blizzard Entertainment. You also have people like Ben Brode, who left to go start his own company. And these are figures in Blizzard that, if you think about it, there is no other gaming company out there that we really go and sit there and say the name of developers and we put them on like the same pedestal as a celebrity,
Rockstar status, right? Like literally, yeah. Aside from looking like Bono, Chris Metzen was actually like a rock star, right? When Ben Brode and anyone who's been to BlizzCon, God, if you don't want to hear BlizzCon, this is the wrong podcast for you. But for anyone who's been to BlizzCon, you know that when you see these faces, you're like, oh my God. Like Ben Brode was such an icon with Hearthstone from the very beginning, in all the goofy trailers, the live acting, like it was fun. And not to mention, like, his voice was just really awesome to listen to. So at BlizzCon, when you heard that voice booming, you were like, oh my God, that's Ben Brode. And, he's a developer. This is his job, is to make games. And he treats you, hey man, how's it going? And you're kind of like, do I treat you as a celebrity? Or how do I... And I know a lot of people who don't even know how to talk to Blizzard developers, because there's this level of renown. And so many developers, same with voice actors. And voice actors are a little bit different because they're literally actors, right? But in the developer community, especially with Blizzard, you hold these developers with such reverence that when you meet them, you're floored. I remember I've met Mike Morhaime once, and it was at BlizzCon 2013. Yes, 13, because it was the year they announced Warlords, and so the weeks prior to BlizzCon 2013. There was the rumor that there was a time travel expansion coming, and on the sign outside the convention center, it said BlizzCon 2014 this weekend, but it was BlizzCon 2013. So we were like, oh, 2014 time travel expansion confirmed. This is Blizzard leaking it by accident. Obviously we're joking. So we turned around and we saw Mike Morhaime literally just standing by himself in the Hilton lobby, no one around him, just by himself in a like Hawaiian colored. I don't know if it was Hawaiian colored, some sort of funky dress shirt. And I looked at my friend, I'm like, do you see who's standing right there? He's like, yeah, that's Mike Morhaime. I said, oh my God. So we like teleported over to Mike Morhaime. I'm pretty sure I skipped 20 steps. And I said, Mr. Morhaime, hello. And he's like, hello, how's it going? How you guys enjoying the pre-festivity? Because this was the night before, so they hadn't announced Warlords yet. And we said, oh my God, like this is my second BlizzCon, and it's so great to be back, because 2012 didn't have a BlizzCon. So we're talking to him. And I remember I kind of fumbled for my words, because again, not only celebrity, but like top celebrity, right? Like top chief. And I said to him, Mike Morhaime, like this is your convention. These are your people. And he looked at me and he went, no, these are our people. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna get that tattooed on my chest. That was the most beautiful thing that someone ever said to me. And he was so nice that half the people, 90% of the people around us didn't even know who he was. If you didn't know what he looked like, he didn't stand there like a CEO billionaire. He didn't have that. He was just so happy and so positive to talk to everyone around him. He didn't have people around him asking for autographs. So we rushed him like a celebrity, but he didn't in any way come off as a celebrity. And actually, the next year we were riding the elevators with, and I'm almost positive it was his parents, because it said Morheim and they had like special badges, and they were going to like the top floor where all the developers stay in the Hilton. And on our way out of the Hilton, out of the elevator, we just yelled, "We love your son!" And then the doors closed and they laughed. But I've only met Morheim once, and it was probably one of the most surreal experiences I've had, because I didn't know what to say, and yet he just started talking, and it seemed so natural. We actually said to him, like, "Hey, like, time travel expansion confirmed, right?" And we told him outside, and he goes, "Oh god, they messed up the sign." We're like, "Yeah, the sign says 2014. He's like, "Oh Christ, we should fix that." I said, "But it means it's a time travel expansion." And then the next day, sure enough, Warlords was announced. But yeah, as you said, Jay, like, what other gaming community puts these developers on this sort of pedestal like this? Like, it's maybe I'm just out of the loop with other gaming communities, but
no,
I'm pretty sure it's nothing like Blizzard and how their developers are.
The only other company that ever would come anywhere near that would be Nintendo, right? Because Nintendo,
right.
But Nintendo is Nintendo, right? It's, you know, it's got its own it's a gaming company, and it's also a developer in making, you know, their own, like, you know, consoles, right? But like with Blizzard, it's like this. I look at it and I try to explain it to a lot of people like this. So I get to go to conventions a lot now, and like BlizzCon changed my life, and you know, but I don't mean to mention BlizzCon again, but I'm just saying like this.
Do it.
I always tell people when I go to a convention and people come up to me and like, "Oh, you're famous." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Don't say that. I'm not famous. I am a person who is just a big Blizzard nerd, and that's what I am. Because if you're a fan of Blizzard Entertainment, you probably still won't know who I am. If you're a fan of, you went to community night, you know who I am. And that's goes with Blizzard. You know, when you are the community that goes to BlizzCon, you know, you play the games at home and that's all you care about. You just care about the game, that's it. And there are people who just play the one individual game. But when you are a Blizzard fan and you literally go and play a majority of the games, you go to BlizzCon, you want to go check out everything, it puts them on that rockstar pedestal, right? Like, I mean, I had an emotional moment when I just got to the gates of the Blizzard campus. I still have the video of this too. I literally start breaking down crying in the car because I could not believe that I was, you know, there. This is a game company that literally was my childhood, you know? And, you know, of course I stopped crying on once. I'm like, "Oh, there's Samwise." You crying, Jay? Like, no, I'm not. You're crying.
Allergies in the middle of
it's
SoCal.
Allergies. Yeah, in SoCal. It's horrible. No, but it's these guys have created stories and, you know, characters that we love. You know, look how angry people are with Sylvanas after, you know, the burning of the tree, right? Look at all that crap. Look what everything happened on there.
It's totally in character. My indoor voice is coming.
Well, I'm not going to get into that.
Learn her character. But no, you're right. You're right. Like we have had, you know, Warcraft has been such a pivotal point of my childhood. You know, other people have Diablo or StarCraft, but regardless, these writers and game developers have impacted our lives so much. You know, Mike Morheim is such an important person in Blizzard that it was kind of like he didn't die and he didn't quit. He's stepping down, but he's going to remain a Blizzard advisor, which is still good. But you're kind of like, even though it doesn't affect us, you know, we the players don't work at Blizzard. It's not like we're going to see him any less, but you still feel like, there's a little bit of a loss there. I feel goodbye until next time, Mr. Morheim. And I really hope he does his on-stage introduction at BlizzCon. I hope it's his final one. I hope he comes out and gets to say goodbye so that all BlizzCon can cheer for him. You know, I was really hoping Metzen did it the year Metzen stepped down. But J. Allen Brack has stepped up. And he's been like a figurehead for WoW for a long time. You know, he's the iconic face who announced Classic last year. I remember I met Jay 2 years ago. I was at the pin trading booth for BlizzCon. At BlizzCon, they have pins. And what Blizzard does at BlizzCon is everyone who's working the floor is an employee. They don't outsource employees anymore. Basically, if you're not on a panel and you work at Blizzard, you're working something. You are working the help desk. You are working the pin booth. You are working the cash register, at the demos, whatever, at the store, whatever. I think the store is actually outsourced, but everything else is Blizzard employees. So I was at the pin trading booth, and there, taking my pin, was J. Allen Brack, and I looked at him, I'm like, are you J. Allen Brack? He's like, I am. I said, no offense, but I didn't expect you to be running the pin trading booth. He goes, dude, I love pins. I was like, okay, that's fair enough. And he goes, I didn't have a panel this year, so they had to put me somewhere. I said, not even the top Blizzard dudes, not even the top Warcraft dude was spared from having to deal with the crazy line of the pin trading booth. So, best of luck to J. Allen Brack. I think he's going to do great. I think, he's been having someone new step into Mike Morheim's shoes. I don't think would have sat well with me. J. Allen Brack's been around for so long that it's like, you know what? This guy gets Blizzard. This guy knows Blizzard. And whether you disagree or agree with him, there was that iconic quote, you think you want vanilla, but you don't. Which, I just laughed at, People took that way too offensive.
Can I comment on that?
Absolutely. Go for it, Jay.
I just have this image now of you in the pin line, right? And you go up there, J. Allen Brack's there, and you're like, I want to get that pin. And he looks at you and says, you think you want this pin, but you don't.
you think you want that pin, but you don't. And I'm like, excuse me? Keep that for the vanilla. Keep that for the classic content, please.
No, I think he's gonna do fine. He's been with the company for well over 20 years. Well over 20 years. So he's got his shield and sword.
I don't know, but I don't know if J. Allen Brack has been there exactly that. He's been there. He's not as ancient as Mike Morheim in terms of Blizzard years, but he's been there a while. And maybe he's not like the Ghost Crawler or an upfront name like Metzen, but he's been, if you go back and search, he's been top of the credits for all the WoW expansions for a long time. Let's move on here, because we can talk about this for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Some other news, very quick, brief news. We never talk about Heroes of the Storm unless it's a new hero. Mal'Ganis was just announced for Heroes of the Storm, which he actually looks pretty cool. I was watching his abilities in the breakdown video, and he actually looks pretty fun. I don't play Heroes aside from when Blizzard tells me to play Heroes to get something free in WoW. That's when I play Heroes. But Mal'Ganis actually looks pretty fun. Little just side rant. I miss the days when the Heroes team put out skins that were lore appropriate or alternate lore. Like Warden Illidan, or what happens if Malfurion was corrupted, or I think there's a Chen skin that it refers to the Thunder King if the Pandaren serve the Thunder King. Or Lei Shen. Very cool, alternate realities. Not what would Yrel look like if she was Harley Quinn. Who asked for that? I'm just saying, I would have much preferred Eridar Yrel or Lightforged Yrel, or even jokes like Dreadlord Jaina are funny, but lore appropriate funny. Lore appropriate. So I was hoping Mal'Ganis. Oh, are we gonna get a Lightforged Mal'Ganis, a Lothraxian Mal'Ganis? No, we got a Robo Mal'Ganis, which I suppose I can't be too surprised about, but I'm excited. I think Mal'Ganis looks cool. I haven't played him, haven't tried him, but, go test him out. One of the most important Dreadlords, Corruptor of Arthas, still at large in-game? Question mark? So, Overwatch Halloween skins just came out as well. I think that event actually went live today. If you're listening to this on YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, that was yesterday, but if you're watching this here live on stream, on Twitch, the Overwatch skins are out. Did you see the new skins, Jay?
I have every single one of them.
Oh, did you just buy them all?
No comment.
Got it. Jay bought them all on day one. Uldir Final Wing is out. Mithrax and Gahoon are finally out. There's a new quest for Horde players involving a certain chieftain of the Dark Spear. So go deal with that. Blizzard, I think, has hotfixed that quest. If not, you should look into that. There's a quest bug that you use the quest item and it doesn't work, and you gotta go back and get the quest item and leave the raid. It's awful. Hopefully Blizzard has fixed it by now. Some very quick 8.1 news. New build came out right before this podcast had been decided. The only things that I see, Loretha Mark has a brand new model, which is dope as hell. Finally, the infamous unknown Regent Lord of Silvermoon, who has been so conveniently forgot by Blizzard for many years, he now has his own model. Hopefully we see him step up as he did in Mists of Pandaria. Hopefully we see him actually become a three-dimensional character, not just a sideline yes ma'am to Sylvanas. Like, he was sassy to Sylvanas in the Siege of Orgrimmar. She's like, hey, I'll raise your dead, and he's like, no you won't, and he gave a whole head wobble at her. I want to see that side. I want to see Loretha Mark shit-talking other members of the Horde who are dicks. Instead, we just have Loretha Mark going, damn, Blood Elves, old elf yells at Void. Someone make that into a meme from The Simpsons. You know, all he does is yell at the Void Elves in Siege of Lordaeron, and that's it. Void Elves, and that's it. So I hope Loretha Mark actually steps up and actually does something. Because he was great in Mists of Pandaria, and then he got forgotten again. And Forsaken and Night Elf Warfront armor is out. The Night Elf armor has been data mined. The Forsaken, the icons are out as of this very moment. And they look dope as hell. They look very apothecary-ish, which is exactly what I was hoping for. Fingers crossed that they look even cooler with the models. The Night Elf cloth armor is very priest or priestess of Elune. The colors are really good, awesome. But this podcast is not about 8.1. But one more thing to talk about, and this is front page newsworthy for anyone who listened to my review of Before the Storm. Aside from freaking out with Jack over Kalia, you know that I was concerned, very concerned, about the well-being of a certain goblin and gnome couple, Grizek and Safi. They are limping through the desert, trying to escape a bomb, and then the bomb goes off, and you're like, oh, okay, well, we'll come back to this chapter, and we don't come back to the chapter. It just, the book ends shortly after that, and there's no confirmation, and all of our hearts were confused, and we were angry and sad. And what happened to Grizek and Safi? Well, I am pleased to say that I was running around in the 8.1 PTR, and I was doing one of the new incursions where the Horde attack Tiergard Sound, specifically Borealis, and I found this little area that the Horde had taken over, and I found this jetpack, and it said Grizek's super jump pack or something. I thought, oh, it says his name. And then right next to the jetpack, there is a stealthed gnome and a stealthed goblin. Female gnome, male goblin. When you mouse over them, it only says gnome and goblin. But the goblin says to the gnome, we're safe here, pumpkin. Let's let player name deal with the Horde kind of thing. So Safi and Grizek are safe and sound, guys. They survived Tenaris, and Grizek faction hopped. He is now on the Alliance. I'm really excited. I really like the idea of more goblins being on Alliance, because goblins are not a Horde race. They're a neutral. Bilgewater Cartel is Horde, but goblins as a whole aren't. So I'm excited to see some more neutral goblins, or specifically Alliance goblins. Gazlo is supposed to be a neutral goblin, but he's a Horde goblin. That makes no sense. But I'm excited to see Grizek go Team Blue with his wife. So that's exciting, guys. Grizek and Safi are safe and sound. They are alive. We can all breathe. We can all relax. We're good. We don't know about anything of what they actually do aside from literally that one world quest. But that's all we needed. That's all we needed. All right, we are now almost 20 minutes into this podcast. Let's get right down into content creation. Jay, what are the first important things about content creation in general is the strict deadline. And I have here in our notes, being the first ? Now, do you have the privilege of interviewing a lot of different well-known actors, celebrities, icons. As you said, Matilda was the first American interview for you guys. So do you face that sort of what we call the content creator rush? Usually it's between Bellular and Mr. GM who gets their video out first, but do you feel that as someone in a very particular niche line of content, or not so much? Do you automatically have that first without even kind of trying because your content is so unique compared to others? I
think that with me, I don't need to rush for it because with the way that we do our content, we've had people who are voice actors who've been on thousands upon thousands of YouTuber channels, and usually half the time the interviews end up being maybe 10, 20 minutes tops. But what we do in our for my show on the Bard's Tavern podcast is we literally sit down with them for about a good hour. And sometimes it will go over that, right? It will go like Samwise interview went over like 3 hours. And this was the first in-depth interview Samwise has ever done. But I don't think it really matters to be the first on some things unless you're competing. Like, if you're mentioning Mr. GM. Mr. GM is who's a good friend. You're saying he competes with Bellular about getting content out. Well, when you're competing with someone else, yeah, of course you want to get out because you want to get, the most recognition. But I think if you have content that is unique, and I'll point out like Lost Codex, for example, you guys have such unique content that you guys do for the actual lore videos. One of the reasons why I even got into doing podcasts is because I was inspired by some of the stuff that you guys actually did in these lore videos. And that's what I love about them, right? Like you have these videos where they're very immersive and you offer something different from other lore videos. You see you pointing yourself on screen, but you offer these unique experiences for people to where they can feel like they are a character listening to this in Dalaran or wherever the Sanctum may be. In my case, I offer a conversation with a guest that you will not hear because it doesn't go to the sample like, how did you get into voice acting? How do I get into voice acting? What would you say to some people? No, we go into more depth than that. We have fun questions and we build an experience where it just becomes a hangout session. And I think if you do content that's more unique, that carries more weight than being the first on anything.
And that's very true. So, especially with Bellular and Mr. GM's content, particularly their niche is very, I love data mining season. When data mining season happens for PTRs, for betas, for alphas, that is like Christmas to me when models are being data mined and maps are being found and voice files and text. That's literally like put on your mining hat, grab your picks, here we go boys, here we go girls. But not everyone likes that. No one wants to read a bunch of gibberish when it all comes out. So Mr. GM and Bellular, they package it nice and neat on a silver platter. Here you go, here's a very quick breakdown with visuals that you can watch, and so the content rush makes sense for that. And we learned a little bit of a lesson when we started doing the Jaina video. With the Jaina video, and this is going to tie into the next topic here with being concise. The Jaina video, we had put out a video earlier that day when Jaina's Warbringers came out, the song, and Jeff looked at me and said, we need to, if you're going to do a reaction and an analysis video, it has to be tonight. And I thought, crap, you're right. If we're going to get this out, it needs to be done tonight. So we weren't the first ones to come out with one. Every reaction videos are very easy to make content that are enjoyable. The way YouTube algorithms work and the way this view pattern works is people like watching other people respond to things. So you know what? Me reacting to a video, that's okay to do. That's just me on camera. I like the analysis part. And what Jack and I didn't do for the Jaina song was we watched the Jaina video live for the first time on camera, and then we started talking about it instantly. No second watch through, no breakdown. It was just, we wanted to get that video out as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. People actually called us out on it. They said, yeah, the big joke in the Discord is, you missed Jaina's dad's boat, but they actually had some points in, oh, you missed this, oh, you missed that. And I didn't miss them. The first time I watched them, I made a mental note, but I didn't come to it after. I didn't make any notes. I didn't write any of it down. I was so concerned with getting it out as fast as possible, and after it became a comment of, why? Why am I rushing to get this out? Why are we, aside from the fact that Jeff had to go to sleep because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning his time, why are we rushing this? Everyone's video's already out. Why don't we just take the time to break it down? And we didn't for the Jaina video. We did for the Sylvanas video, and that was a lot more successful in terms of we watched it live, we cut the camera, Jack and I rewatched it like 4 or 5 times, and then we went back to it after and broke it down and talked about it and stuff. And that's one of the things about being most concise is when PTR builds come out and you want to get as much news out as possible, do you hold off and wait until the build has been more cleanly picked, until the data mining vultures have stripped the build clean, or do you get it going right away? And I've actually seen some conversation from people of, new models are out, there's a lot of speculation right now, do I wait? They put out a video, 2 hours later, another model's found that answers the question. It's like, damn it, I should have waited kind of thing. So there is this sort of, and I guess, Jay, you wouldn't actually have to do that because, you know, you I think you've done one reaction video lately?
I did a parody reaction video because, so with parody, like, you know, I'm not parody, but being reaction videos. Reaction videos, guys, if you're trying to get into content creation, do a reaction video. It's easy, free content for your channel. Like, there's no doubt about that. That is free content because that's not you having to brainstorm anything. That's you go reacting and giving your full-on, legit expression and thoughts of something, right? So I did a reaction to the Dreadwake, right? But my reaction was just a parody thing, and I didn't even like write a script for it. I just said I'm gonna do it like this, where I go in there and I'm like waking up, and I go in my room and I click on the computer. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna get Blizzard. No, I don't need it. 5 minutes later, I'm coming for you, you scurvy dogs.
Didn't you play the Pirates of the Caribbean song too?
Yeah, I played like the Jack Sparrow theme. And I'm actually in the water on my mount. I had so many people messaging me saying, I'm so upset, but I'm so glad you did this.
It was the thing about reaction videos, and you know, you said earlier, Jay, that, you know, the Lost Codex is a little bit different with the way we do our lore videos. So when we started doing podcasts and analysis videos, you know, we get some negative comments saying, you guys are just becoming mainstream and boring and blah, blah, blah. But people actually said, hey, like for the podcast, hey, can you film yourself? Can you be on camera? I said, sure, if you want. And B, please do more reactions, do more breakdowns and analysis. And for me, like the reaction is nothing. It's just me. I don't scream. I don't get, you know, sometimes I was actually shocked when Sylvana set the tree on fire. Like, I wasn't shocked, but I was so convinced it was someone else that when she's like, burn it, I was like, really? Like, that wasn't a fake reaction. But the fun part was when Jack and I got to talk about it after, the analysis, the breakdown. That is what I love about the lore and this community is you can sit down and you can just geek the hell out with anyone who loves the lore and break it down. And so that's what I love turning these analysis videos into is breaking it down into something that's not just a reaction video, but also worth listening to in case, oh, it was really cool to watch, but what if there was things you missed? Well, hopefully we didn't miss them, and hopefully we'll be able to break them down. Jay, you brought this up when we were writing our notes here for content creation consistency and how important that is for content creators in general.
Yes, it really is, because it depends on what you're doing, right? So I have a YouTube partnership as well, but I don't upload as much content to my channel. I always joke I am the laziest content creator on YouTube because I upload whenever I feel like it. But if you're someone that's in positions such as yourself, or someone who really wants to start seeing more growth in terms of YouTube, for example, you need to have a consistent schedule where you're uploading at least 2 videos or so a week, depending on the content you're doing. Again, that depends on the content. If you're making like large machinimas like Jesse and Jeff do for Lost Codex, that takes time. Obviously, you're not going to put that out.
Well,
but if you're doing like a podcast,
I'm totally going to interrupt you here just for a second. The thing is, our lore videos, they don't fit the YouTube criteria as much as, you know, we do put a lot of hard work into them. They aren't the YouTuber's consistency type video, right? It's not and this is no means to crap on other YouTubers, but when you make a video, like a news video or a coverage video, it can take anywhere between 4 hours and 24 hours, right? Lost Codex lore videos take weeks to make. And not that this says we're better. It's you know, I know, you know, people like Taliesin and Evitil, right? They do their couple videos throughout the week. They put many hours into writing the script, filming, cutting, editing, all that stuff. And that's, you know, they're able to their growth depends on how much videos they put out. You know, that is why people are so, you know, Novel is able to cover so many lore topics, because the way scheduling works on YouTube, in order to keep that consistency and that dynamic growth, as you said, Jay, you need to be consistent and have at least 2 to 3 videos a week. And that's where so many fresh YouTube channels start and fail so early, in that they go, wow, this is people say YouTubing isn't a full-time job. Are you joking me? Yeah, it is more than that. I know so many people who put in so much work, and you and I can attest to that. So sorry, Jay, keep going on your thought.
Yeah. Now, like I said, it depends on what you're trying to do. YouTube, because of the way it's changed, you have to be so consistent with the uploads, right? You have, especially with what you're doing. And another thing you have to think about too is now is what kind of content you're making. So for my show is bi-weekly. Like, I have to only worry about booking my guests, and I know we're gonna get that a little in a second, but we book a guest, or we figure out what we're gonna talk about on that episode, and then I record it, get it done, go through the editing process, and then I send it to my producer. He uploads it, and then I don't have to worry about anything for a week, because I do all the editing, I do all the booking, I do all of that. My crewmates who I go to conventions with, they just take the pictures for the conventions because that's what they want, whereas I do all the networking portion of that. But, you know, that's what I do. I do a bi-weekly thing. It's really rough if you try to rush it with podcasting, because, you know, you want to give your fans something to have, you know, to look forward to, maybe at the end of next week or something, or the week after. And sometimes you can do it well with a consistent weekly podcast, but it really comes down to how much can you handle the work? Can you handle editing? Because, you know, Jesse and I may be doing this for about like an hour for a recording, but in reality, Jesse is going to spend maybe about 2 to 3 hours just editing this. I know I have a interview I did that was half an hour, and it took me about an hour and a half to finish editing it, because I wanted to make sure everything was right. I wanted to make sure I cut out any background sounds. It really goes into how much do you want to go in editing and producing your you know, product, and before you put it out there for people to listen to. So yeah, you know, same thing can be said with Twitch TV. If you want to become a Twitch streamer, I don't have a schedule. I don't have a time and schedule for my streams. It wasn't until recently I said, hey, I'm going to start having a schedule Mondays, Wednesdays. And I just started streaming, and I'm just lucky enough to where people will come in and they know who I am, and they're going to come watch my streams and stuff like that. But if you want to become a consistent Twitch streamer, you want to get that growth. Growth requires consistency. That is the biggest part of it. Is consistency is everything. Don't keep changing your days up. You want to keep the same days you've been going, so that way people know, and maybe add some different dates for different people. Like I have people who, and Jesse, I know you have to, you know, you work with Jeff on content at different hours because you guys are in completely 2 different time zones. But like for my viewers, I want to do 2 different streams. I stream like at 3 in the morning my time, because I have people from Australia and EU that want to watch my streams. And then I do stuff for daytime streams where I'm going to have my normal, you know, US viewers or anyone who's going to be on the West Coast. So it's finding your audience, and we'll get into that too. That consistency is everything. But Jesse, how does that work with you and Jeff? Because you guys have a huge difference in time zones. I've been curious about like how you guys get that done.
It's tough. So Jeff is 6 hours ahead. He is over in the Netherlands. I am Eastern time zone. So when he's at work, I'm sleeping. When he's sleeping, I'm either working or at home working on videos. When he's working on videos, I'm at work. It never, unless I have the day off and he has the day off, it never lines up. Which is part of the reason why these lore videos take so long to put out, but it's also why we don't do this full time yet. And we'll come back to that later, but the scheduling is what really kind of started to bother us, is keeping this consistent schedule. You know, we couldn't promise a lore video in 3 to 4 weeks. Sometimes they're done in 3 weeks. Sometimes they're done in 5 weeks. It honestly depends. You know, if Jeff has a conference to go to for work, he's out for 4 days. And that's 4 days of development time on a lore video lost. If I work back-to-back shifts, doing 12-hour shifts, could and often do stay up to butcher my sleep schedule, but that started to get unhealthy for me. So there's problems with this, and where I said, okay, well, what can we do to grow and give myself another platform, not to delay the lore videos, but to provide something in between, because, you know, all of my work, specifically in a lore video, is all at the beginning. Jeff can't do anything until I have done all the research, and I've written, and we'll come back to the stages later, which is where this podcast came into play. Giving myself something to do on a weekly basis, which has proven to be a challenge, and keeping the stream schedules to a certain day. So it's supposed to be out Sunday/Monday. Because of the tornado storm 3 weeks ago, all the videos have been bumped a little bit. We're slowly resetting the schedule. It's a soft reset. But it's a huge struggle to maintain the momentum on podcasts while still running those lore videos. And that's the next question here, is, which actually may be the title of this video: where are the lore videos, Jesse? And right away, the biggest problem with that is the video production. You know, Jeff and I have worked together as a team so well for so long, but easily the longest part of a video, I'll put in maybe 12 to 15, 16 hours of work. Voice acting, editing my voice, music, and of course the research. Research can actually add another 4 to 5 hours onto that, so a good 20 hours per video. Jeff is putting in between 20 to 25 hours per video, sometimes between 30 to 40. I want to say the longest time he put in was 60 hours on the Suramar video. And it's like, what, 10 minutes? 11 minutes? 60 hours for 11 minutes. And again, this isn't me complaining, this isn't Jeff complaining. We love doing this. I love nothing more than running a script for the Lost Codex. I love nothing more than sitting in front of my camera, in front of my microphone, screaming in a Draenei accent or something, you know, narrating this lore. I love doing that. But we're one producer and one director, and so that's, you know, if you've been wondering, Jesse, how can we keep doing these podcasts and these analysis videos? Where are the lore videos? They're coming, guys. Last 2 months, Battle for Azeroth, work stress, and BlizzCon preparations. Will show more of that soon. Things get delayed, things get pushed back, and I wish there was more of us on the team that could put these videos out faster. But these podcasts, I don't want to say they're cheap content, they're easy content, but it's just me in front of a camera with someone ranting about something. And it's fun, and it's casual. I have a script in front of me, but it's a very vague, loose script, so it's not really... The amount of work is 2 hours to record this, and Jeff has to spend 2 hours rendering this, but he doesn't even have to sit there. He hits the render button and walks away, kind of thing. So, where are the lore videos? They're coming. There's 2 of us for this YouTube channel. And we're looking at ways to improve the speed of this. We don't do this full time. I'm going to break down what that process is later. But we're going to dive into Jay's process now, because this is something I've known Jay for almost a year now, and I don't even know what his process is. So we're gonna come back to my process. We're gonna put a pause on that. And Jay,
if I could just comment on one thing really quick.
Jay, you can comment on 2 things if you want. Go for it.
Okay. So I think that's one of the big things, right, when struggles when people ask, like, where's this video, where is this at for content creators? And for some people, you know, they don't seem to understand, like, for us, like, we do this thing out of passion. Like, I'll tell you guys right now, I do not make a single penny out of my podcast. And given the guest I have, I don't make any money from that at all. And I do it completely out of pure passion. I work for my family's businesses, which is a daycare. I work in a daycare where I take care of kids most of the time. Jesse, you know, doesn't work, you know, in his house full time, you know, behind the computer, you know, writing and reading lore and stuff like that to write this
I
stuff.
wish I did.
Yeah, and I wish I could be being paid consistently, you know, like, to do what I do. But people often forget sometimes that, you know, there is real life, and some of us who are not like the big content creators who, you know, like Bellular can do this for like a living, you know? We can't do that. We're not at that point yet. But, you know, people, we appreciate, you know, and I think I could speak on, you know, your behalf on this too, saying we appreciate the constant support that we do have from our viewers, from our listeners, and everything that we do. And we make this stuff because it's what we're passionate about. You know, and
when I see people supporting us or just the amount of people who the this is gonna sound really like gushy, but the passion that people have, that people ooze for content creators they love, you know, just go watch a stream of your favorite several thousand viewer streamer and watch how many donations they get in an hour. People love them. They are so well supported, and so the community, their fans love them so much that it's heartwarming. And so when I see when people whisper me, send me messages on Twitter or Discord or wherever, and they throw that out to me and they say, "Oh my god, I'm a huge fan," I'm kind of like, thank you. Like last year at BlizzCon, someone ran up to me and he's like, "Lost Codex, I'm a huge fan." Jay's an example. Jay's like, "Hey man, you inspired me to do a podcast," and I'm like, "That's really cool." And then I'm in a talent contest. What do you do? I sing. I'm gonna cheer for you, kind of thing. And it was when Jay, you told me that I inspired you, I was like,
yeah,
whoa, that's cool. You know, when people say, "I love your stuff, I want to buy a shirt," or "I want to support you on Patreon," or "I want to subscribe to you on Twitch," it's kind of like, I do it for other people, but when people do it for me, you're like, really? And the passion from the community is just so, it's amazing. It's amazing. So guys, if you're going to BlizzCon, or you see anyone at BlizzCon, your favorite convention, whatever, chances are that YouTuber, that streamer that you love, they're gonna want to hear how much you love them. You know, that sounds very egotistical, but just say,
you have no idea
how much
it means.
How much it means. Exactly. When I hear someone like, "I love the stuff you make," that's better than someone saying, "Here's $20. I love it." I mean, I'll say thank you. I could use that 20. Thank you very much. But when someone comes up and says, "Hey man, I love your videos," I'm kind of like, I love you. You love my videos. I've never met you in my life, but I love you, kind of. And it's this really just wholesome. The community's great, and tell your content creators that you love them. Just say, "Hey man, loved your video." Comments, you know, you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. As obnoxious as it is, we enjoy reading the comments. Sure, some of them are shit posts and some of them are awful, but those good comments that just warm your heart, you're like, man, I was having a shit day, and now I'm not, because
Joe makes all the difference.
Joe F. Wyden 2715 says, "Hey man, cool videos." I don't know Joe, but he said I have cool videos, so that's kind of cool. So the passion is there, the community's there, so much love in the air. Jay, walk us through
Sure.
the tavern. Give us a glimpse into the booking. I feel like I should be clapping along to this music. You can't hear it, but I'm gonna sorry, go ahead.
All good. So this is what usually I do. So originally what I would do is I would actually do live interviews at conventions, because I did not have a business card, and I had the best answer for whenever people asked for like my business cards. I'd be like, "Do you have any business cards on you?" I'm like, "I ran out." I always go around telling people I ran out of business cards, so people would think like, "Hey, he's giving out a lot of them. This guy's up there, you know." But I would go up to these guests and I would go and introduce myself, and I would talk about like, it's like, "I would love to interview you for my show. It's called, you know," well, we go into three names about Bard's Tavern we're at now and what we're staying with. But I'm the host of Bard's Tavern. We're a podcast, and you know, we reach out to this many listeners a week. We also have radio broadcasts that go out in the Bay Area, all this other stuff. And I'd love to talk to you about this. And depending on the guest, we'll determine, like, you know, if they want to talk to us. One of the biggest things for this is how you carry yourself. How you carry yourself when you go and meet a guest will really change, you know, maybe the outcome and how it will be. Because you can be a podcaster and have like 5 people listening to your podcast. And, you know, if you go and to this guy and be like, "Hey, my name is Steven. I have a show called What's Up? And, you know, we just talk to people on our show about whatever. Would you like to be a guest on it?" "I'm sorry, Steven, I'm very busy." But if you go to someone and say, "Hey, what's up? My name is Jay. I'm the host of the Bard's Tavern. We're a show that covers a lot of things through geek culture, video games, manga, anime, etc. We do cover music as well. And we have a reach out to about 40,000 people on our broadcasts. Would you be interested in being a guest? We'd love to interview you, talk to you about your voice acting career, talk to you about your music, and, you know, see what you're up to." oh, well, yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's do that. And, that's usually what we do when we have a guest that will come on the show, or we interview them there. We've interviewed Robert England, just for, it's I like to call this right now, it's October, which is basically Halloween all month long. Horror movies galore, right? Or as I've been calling it, Hordetober, and for reasons. Yeah, for Hordetober, because I'm playing horror tunes all month long on my stream. But Robert Englund is the original Freddy Krueger. This guy is a A-list actor, and he was the very first big celebrity I ever interviewed. And I had like 5 people who watched my show. I went up to him, knew what I was talking about, and he let me interview him on the spot. And you can find this video on my YouTube channel, and you can see how awkward I am asking interview questions live on the spot. But I learned from that. I learned from all of this. And I take what I learn and I apply it to the next time I'm going to go apply and talk to somebody, and how I'm going to carry myself. Carrying yourself in a way is how you carry yourself is going to determine how people are going to look at you and say like, hey, I want you as a guest. And that's really how it goes with booking. The next step is how to reach out. Well, reaching out can go with another thing is networking, right? So through Jesse, for example, I met Jesse over at Calm Before the Storm last year. I went up to him and I was just, I told him, he was an inspiration to, what I love to do. And he's an awesome person. I loved his videos and Jeff's videos. But after that day, I didn't think I would ever see Jesse ever again, or ever talk to him, no less. Until I saw that he gave me, an invite on Facebook. And this was through a group that we were part of on Facebook. Now, I had him be a guest on my show. He's a well-known content creator. And other content creators see this when someone shares something like that. Jesse knows other content creators, and other content creators like, hey, I saw you did an interview with Jesse from Lost Codex. I'd be down to be on your show. These are the things you have to think about. Networking is key. Networking is a huge key to that. And that's really how it goes into my booking, is people that you know.
Now, just to clarify here, Jay, you ran up to us at the table, told us you were a huge fan, and then you ran away. And I said, okay, bye. And then you came back about 5 minutes later. Can I get a picture with you? I was like, oh, you're back. And you're like, by the way, I'm in the talent contest. And that's, if you didn't come back, I never would have learned of this. So fate almost parted. You were like, hi, I love your stuff, bye. And I was like I had a really cool hat.
Can I clarify why I left?
I know why. You were on a very strict schedule because you had to be backstage with the rehearsals.
So before this though, right?
Okay.
So I went over to Jesse, and I'm gonna go grab this really quick because it's right there in my room. It's right here in the room. And I told him this, and then Jesse gave me something. I'll go grab it really quick.
Thinking like, what did I give him?
So I go up to him and I tell him and Jeff, I really appreciate, what they do and stuff like that. And then Jesse, was like, oh, wow, thanks, man. Hey, and you gave me a pin. You gave me this one right here.
Gave you Anduin. That's right. That was Latest's Anduin, and I gave it to you. I said, this is Latest's. I was like, no, you can have it. That's not true. But I did give you a pin, yes.
But I remember I went away to go and, because my friend who was in my guild, it was my first time meeting my guildmate in real life. And he just arrived, and I was like, oh, I gotta go say hi to him. And then he's like, hey, we're gonna go, you gotta go to your rehearsal, and we're gonna go out to dinner. I'm like, yeah. So I remember like, oh, I need to go get a picture with this guy. And, these guys, I want to get a picture, and plus I gotta say thank you, and maybe let them know a little something, because, you gave me a little gift. And it wasn't just this, you gave me something else too.
Probably a business card.
Yes, it was a business card. That's right, a business card. And that's like on my little business wall side over here, all my lizard looking stuff. Like there's even the thank you note for everything right there too.
Oh, the birthday card.
Yeah. But I went to go see my friend, and then I came back for the picture, just to clarify what happened.
It's funny because I was just like, that guy ran away really fast, and then out of nowhere, Jay was like, I need a picture. I was like, oh, you're back. Hi. Anyway, Jay, continue on. You were talking about know your audience and networking and stuff like that. Okay.
So again, when knowing your audience is knowing what you can do with your audience, because like I'm the kind of person that will play and pick on my audience. I've had people who will come into my streams, for example, and I like to play jokes with them, and they know I do joke with them, and stuff like that. But it's also knowing what kind of listeners do you have and how are you listening to them when they're listening to you, right? So with that is, what kind of content are they enjoying? Well, you can go one way and be like, okay, like, hey, Jay, this episode was really garbage. I felt really cheated this episode because, you know, you didn't really talk too much about this. Was a shorter episode than usual. Well, with my audience, I have to explain something to them. Well, again, I do this as, you know, non-profit, right? This is a non-profit, like podcast, not stream, a podcast. So, you know, I do this simply out of passion, and I only can do so much. But I do try to offer something that to them that you won't find on most other streams. Like, you know, how many streams on Twitch TV are going to have voice actors that you can talk to right there on the spot? You can ask them a question. You know, unless you go to like Geek and Sundry, you're not going to see them. But, you know, in Geek and Sundry, you're not going to be able to ask like Matt Mercer a question because they're doing, you know, Critical Role. So I have a place for my audience where I know what kind of content I can put out that they'll be happy with, and, you know, offering something as if like a rebuttal to, you know, what they may be arguing about. Like, oh, there's not enough of this content. Well, I have this later. I mean, I can't just book, you know, celebrity guests every week. Like this week, you know, we have Murad is here, guys. Murad's here, yay! Oh, next week we're gonna have this. It's a pain, right? And that's with knowing your audience, is what kind of content can you put out that's going to make them happy, but what's also going to be the kind of content you can put out that can draw in more people. For me, my audience has come to a point where they know that I do more than just World of Warcraft or Overwatch or voice actors. We talk about conventions. We talk about whatever the heck we want. This whole month of October, we've been talking about horror things, like, you know, movies. I'm going to clarify, horror, not horror.
I was going to say, Jay, relax.
I know.
Pete, this is a family stream, Jay.
Oh.
It's not.
Please, okay.
Drop as many F-bombs as you need to. Please,
all right.
With moderation.
With moderation, I got you. But that is a big thing in knowing, you know, your audience. And I think when you are able, for some people, it's hard to reach outside of those boundaries. You know, because if I go, it's the thing was with streaming. If you stream, you know, Dead by Daylight, when you're a Warcraft streamer, you're going to lose your views, right? And that gives people so much fear. And having that kind of fear is bad. Don't ever have that fear. Don't ever be afraid to make something out of the ordinary. Now, you want to be consistent, but if you want to have growth, and I'm talking from a podcast perspective, guys. I'm not talking about YouTube. YouTube is different. Okay? You know, you want to be able to cover a lot of things, and eventually you'll have a mixed audience that, you know, you can talk about whatever, whenever, and it works. That's the best answer I give. Probably a little digressing there a little bit. I apologize for that, Jesse, but
no, that's quite all right. Now this would be something more for you than for me, because I don't have a, you know, especially for Jeff, the equipment used. But, you know, tell us about when you record. What are the different steps? What are the important things to know? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, you know, just when you record something, you're just talking, but they don't realize the time, the editing, and the types of equipment you need. So give us a breakdown, starting with just the time itself. A lot of people don't realize, as you said earlier, this, you know, recording a 2-hour podcast, it's like 3 to 4 hours of editing, re-listening, editing,
it is.
and there's a lot there, and you know, especially if you hate the sound of your own voice, holy moly. So start with time and with recording, because I think a lot of people don't realize that is so crucial to the podcast business.
First off, with time, don't try to force yourself to do it, because if you force yourself to do it, you will end up taking more time trying to edit it. You'll get frustrated. You'll get upset because it's like you're just like, I know I have to get this done, but I don't really want to do this right now. So it's finding the right time to do it. For me, I do it usually in the dead hours where there's no one online. I'm wide awake. There's no one to really socialize with. So that way I'll get it done. I'll put on Netflix, and I have it to where like I can can blot out stuff while I'm editing. So like, I can watch Netflix and listen to my podcast and edit it because I know what parts I already need to edit. Usually, for my process of editing it, recording it, is one, if they have a good audio equipment, like, so for me, you're using, Jesse, a Blue Yeti directly USB, correct?
Yes.
So you are using a Blue Yeti direct USB that goes straight into the computer, and that's recording directly into Audacity or whatever system you're using. For me, I'm using a Shure SM7B mic. That's this beautiful big mic where you see a lot of streamers use it. Joe Rogan uses it for his podcast, and people use this in recording studios for music. I invested in this mic because I want to get the best quality I can. This is running through a Yamaha AG03 mixer, and that allows me to do a couple things. So I can compress my audio, which will, if I'm talking pretty low and you want to hear me but you're not hearing me, I can hit this button right here and it'll raise the audio up, and I can still talk like this and still come in pretty clearly, but you'll hear, of course, the fan in the background. Other things you can do with the mixture is you can run loop through it. So I can hit a button where I guess I'll play this as a little loop, this is a little treat for your listeners. So I can loop button and play a sound effect like this.
Ah, you've earned the bard's favor, but not mine.
I can do cool stuff like that through a mixer, and that makes something that it's useful. You can record audio, and you can apply that to any. You can go to a Discord, make a Discord party, and start dancing, going crazy. But yeah, you laughed.
I'm taking notes.
You're taking notes, good. But another thing with the mixer is you can come up with more fun with it. So now we go into the next part. Now, you're not going to see this on maybe WoW streams on Twitch, but I have something here called a voice play live. This is not something like for just vocal cords or anything. This is actually an instrument pedal that I have. I use it for live performances, and it can use different effects. Now, I have effects that I've built into it to where I can use it for just vocal only. So I have Sargeras, which is I can do this now, and I'll hit the button.
That which you have stolen will be your undoing.
And again, that's coming through the mixer. The mic's going directly through this and then going to the mixer. And this acts as its own equalizer and compressor. And it makes the audio sound so much more crisp, a lot more better than that. A lot better, I shouldn't say more better, a lot better. I can also do this.
Hi, Jesse. I'm your biggest fan.
It's not the one I thought you were going to go for. I thought you were going to do the Lich King. That was startling, though.
Oh, you want me to do Lich King?
Lich King.
So Lich King. I don't need a voice effect for the Lich King. I just need reverb. If the button will turn on.
So, the light's vaunted justice has already arrived. Shall I lay down Frostmourne at your feet and beg for mercy?
And that's just with reverb. Again, that's using a mixer. So when you have stuff like this for recording, it makes it a lot more fun. And the best part is when you have good quality equipment, less editing. I invest in this stuff. This right here is about a $800 setup. And I do this so I don't have to edit as much. And that's the recording process, right? So let's talk about editing next. Now, there are some people, when it comes to editing, they have different ways of doing it. Jesse could take this, for example. I'm sure, I know you edit this. I know for sure you actually edit your shows, Jesse. But I'm just going to use an example. Let's say Jesse was to take this audio as a live recording, live uncut. Maybe he's in a rush, especially with BlizzCon around the corner. We are rushing to get content out, and it's hard to go and find time to edit because he has to go maybe write the script for the Jay the Bard lore video, right? I know, that's what I'm still waiting for. But Jesse can take his audio live from Twitch and then be like this. Okay, this is a live uncut interview episode with Jay the Bard of Decoded. We're talking about content creation for your hearts. Content. I'm sorry, Jesse.
Again, that's not the title. That's just I was like, I need a placeholder title. Quick.
I want that on a shirt for Lost Codex now.
Got it.
That should be the motto of Lost Codex. Content creators that create content for your heart's content. Anyways, I digress. But he can do that as a live thing, and I've done that. I did the Sombra interview as a live, uncut interview, and it wasn't my best thing because there's a lot of stuff that could have been edited. But it really makes it's the call you want to make on that. If you know there's a lot of stuff you have to edit out, then you need to edit it. Now, for me, I'll tell you what I have to edit. I go through the process, and I'm like, I have guests who are live here on the spot, where people are like doing this. I'll be like, hey, so out of all the roles that you've taken in the games, you portrayed characters in, which character do you enjoy portraying the most? And then you'll hear the pause, right? There's a long pause. Just all these long pauses. So the first thing you want to do is you want to shorten that. You want to edit that all out. You don't want to, for one, it makes them not sound like they don't really know on the spot. Like, you want to make them look good, because if you have a guest on your show, you don't want to make them look bad. Like, I'm not saying that you should edit to the point where it doesn't like make them seem human, but you want to edit because you don't want something that's going to drag on in a show. That is the key thing, right? And then, of course, adjusting audio levels. That Jesse right now is making sure that our audio is balanced out during the beginning of this, stream and recording. So he's making sure that I'm balanced, he's balanced. So like if he talks, it's not gonna like mix in with me. So he's making sure that makes him save on editing time, and that helps out. And sometimes that can't happen, but other key things to edit for is what we call noise reduction. Are you familiar with noise reduction, Jesse?
I am. That's at the what I do is there's a little end period at the end of my podcast where I just record straight silence. And for those of you who use Audacity, you just record straight silence. So hit the record button and sit there in silence. Don't mute your microphone. Just sit there. Don't move. Don't do anything. Let the fan of your computer in the air just go for 30, a minute, 40 minute and 45 seconds. Then you can select that white noise and you can apply a filter where it removes all of that from the entirety of your video. So instead of hearing me talking to Jay and in the background, it's just me talking to Jay. You can remove that in the background, which is a lifesaver when it comes to if you're not like, I don't have a soundproof room. I don't have a professional voice acting studio. I definitely have to invest in the padding and stuff like that, which I want to, but if you don't have that, this really helps by reducing things that I'm listening right here and I hear nothing. When I go back and listen to that pause, I'm going to hear a soft sound in the background. So it really helps with that particular tool.
Now, it's good because it does take out those frequencies too. It will lower the frequency and you will not be picking up any static either if you might have any issues with static for whatever reason. Of course, if you're having issues with static, that means you have a very bad mic and you need to invest in a better one. But those are just simple editing techniques. Now, one of the other things that I do is, and this is a little cheat way of editing, if you do not know how to do noise reduction or you're afraid of it, it's actually very simple, but just in case you want to go that extra mile so that you're not hearing the background sound, because one of the biggest things with podcasting is this. And then I want to go talk about this. Breathing. So one key thing is, you'll see me on video doing this sometimes where I turn this direction when I'm talking, because I want to breathe that way. Breathe away from the mic. You don't want to be, Jesse, you better keep my breaths in here because this is for an example, of course.
Definitely.
But you want to breathe away from the mic. But you can also edit those out to a unique way, but don't try to cut it out completely like that, because it'll sound weird. You hear like, and then you'll have skips when they go into a conversation. You can actually do another cheat way, which is you can apply music to your background. I play Stonefire Tavern for most of my interviews. Stonefire Tavern is probably my favorite tavern theme song from World of Warcraft.
I feel like I should play it now.
Yeah, you should actually. You really should. But that's what I play for a lot of my Blizzard-based interviews, and it helps so much with editing. Also, take breaks. Don't force it out. Take your breaks. I say do like if your interview, and I'll tell you, the longest interview I've had has been 4 hours. 4-hour recording interview, and that was with Samwise Didier. That was supposed to be a 45-minute interview. Ended up being 4 hours. And try to cough away from the mic too. That's another thing. Or mute yourself when you're recording. But I had to take breaks. I had to take a lot of breaks. So again, having the right equipment, knowing how to do proper editing, and knowing the shortcuts. Those are key things to proper editing for recording. The last part of the editing would be, of course, compressing. Are you familiar with compressing, Jesse?
I am.
Okay, good. So for those of you who don't know, the compressing will do was it'll compress your voice to a certain level to where you can, again, talk quietly, or you maybe have a mic that's not going to be, you don't want to be too loud, and it will raise your volume and it'll hold it at that level. So you can compress files by editing too. You don't need to have the software. You can do that. But again, you want to use noise reduction when using Audacity. So that way, when it raises all the audio files, it's going to raise up everything that's going to be picked up on that mic. So that's another big thing. And of course, equalization. But equalization I can go on for hours about that. I say do that by ear. I don't know what you do for yours, Jesse, but I say do it by ear.
Jeff actually has a couple of presets that he applies, so it's that part is up to Jeff. Jeff has a lot of our sound editing stuff. When we first started the Lost Codex, a little fun fact is when we first started the Lost Codex, we put out our first video, and we sent it to our friend Taryn Gregory at Blizzard, and he said the biggest thing that caught his attention was the sound effects. And so we sent Jeff and I a very particular set of instructions on tweak this, turn that, do this, do that, and Jeff turned that into a preset that now he applies to every single one of our videos to give it that little extra bit of a reverb so it sounds like we're in a big sanctum. Now by this point in time when you listen to our videos, you might not notice that echo, but it's there. It's very mild. It's very slight, but it's just enough that it makes all the difference. So little things like that, Jeff actually has a whole bunch of presets set aside for because of Sir Taryn.
I have a question for you. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I know this was one of the next segments we're going to go into. I was going to ask you personally this anyways, but how does it feel for you with balancing the podcast and the lore episodes and the analysis ones? I know that was part of our next segment. I want to ask.
That actually branches us right into the next part. So we had our walk through the tavern. And this is Night Song that's playing in the background, which is not a bad song. But let's go back to Kultiris. I played your song, by the way, Jay, your tavern song, even though you heard nothing because it's playing for the stream and not you. So just reading something here.
I was like, did you just cut out?
No, I froze too. I was reading our notes here because I'm trying to figure out the best way to go about this. So balancing these podcasts with the lore videos and the analysis videos, it's challenging. And you talked about not wanting to force yourself into doing a video. This podcast, tonight's podcast, was actually kind of difficult. By the way, Decoded is supposed to be a Sunday release. Monday at the latest. But ever since 6 tornadoes touched down in my city a couple weeks ago, everything's been bumped. And I didn't want to put out a podcast and then 2 days later put out another podcast. So I've been kind of like soft resetting by shortening the time. So next week's podcast will be out by Monday and we'll be back to regular schedule eventually. But balancing these podcasts with the lore episodes has become not challenging because there's a certain momentum that I need to maintain with the podcasts. Certain momentum I need to maintain on a weekly basis. Do I talk about new content or do I talk about old content? Do I go into old lore or do I dive into new lore? Do I talk about roleplay or do I talk about video editing? Do I bring Jeff on or do I bring Jay the Bard on? There is, when you were saying and talking about finding that right niche and that right topic to talk about, and some people are going to be interested, some people aren't. I get that. I really get that, because some people will say, don't do the roleplay podcasts, they're boring. And other people will say, you should do more roleplay. Like, where are the roleplay podcasts? I'm actually never going to watch you until you do more roleplay stuff. Or the Secrets Discord. That was really fun with Jack and Zuanich. That was really, really cool to do. And so finding the right topic is definitely interesting and challenging. Tonight was very... I have the next several weeks planned. BlizzCon, post-BlizzCon. Like, there's Jaina... Death, the podcast on Death, Spalander, the podcast on the Highborn. Like, there's so many topics I have, but I was like, I don't want to use the word filler podcast, but I'm like, I need something to talk about. And I thought, a topic on creating content, a topic on creating podcasts. Have I done that before? So tonight was actually it's a little bit funny that this is actually what we decided to talk about because of the challenges that I've had. As for your original question, balancing them, as the name of the video implies, people are wondering, where's the lore videos? And I feel like a broken record saying this, but before we started Decoded, you got a new Lost Codex Lore video. Once a month, roughly, every between 3 and 5 weeks. Now, and I will admit, the last time we put out a lore video was actually on Battle for Azeroth launch day, and it's been a busy time. I will say that we have gone a long time without putting out a lore video. Fair. That is a very fair assessment. Between Battle for Azeroth launch, doing all the quests or most of the quests lore-wise, trying to learn the story, end of summer work, and of course BlizzCon prep. There's so much going into this BlizzCon prep. The lore video, we had an Uldir video in production that took a back step. That's actually on the back burner right now, and there's another lore video that's in production. It's kind of fun, because more to that later. But normally, what happens is you get a weekly episode of Decoded, and then every 3 to 5 weeks you get another lore video. So it's like getting a monthly subscription to something for a whole year and a half, and then suddenly getting a weekly free sample of something and getting angry at that free sample, going, I don't want the free sample, I want the monthly sample. And I've had people say, why did you stop the lore videos? And it makes sense, right? When you're used to seeing the Lost Codex update every 3 to 5 weeks, and suddenly we start updating once a week, it looks like the lore videos are few and far between, when in reality, they're more or less the same schedule. So the podcasts, fortunately, don't take a lot of my time, nor Jeff's time, with the exception of 1 or 2 videos where we had a lot of visuals, the Before the Storm review. It's a matter of, I sit here and talk, I then spend a couple hours editing, depending on the video, and I'll get to that in a second. There's a reason we do Twitch now. And then Jeff just renders. If the podcast is 2.5 hours long, okay, it's never that long, an hour and a half long, it takes an hour and a half long to render, which he does on one computer, and then he makes the thumbnail on another computer. Jeff maybe puts in about an hour to 2 hours worth of work for every podcast. I put in the 2 hours of recording, and that's it. It's a very, very quick turnaround for Decoded, while the lore videos are a little bit different. So the balancing isn't so difficult, because it's not a lot of extra work. It's just an extra stage for me to stand with a microphone and yell about things. People want to hear me yell about transmog? Oh, buckle your seatbelts, because I will yell about transmog. You want to hear me yell about King Anastarian Sunstrider's horrible model in game? Yeah, I'm going to do that. You want to hear about me talk about Magar orcs? One day. But I can't do that on my lore videos, right? So, balancing, very easy. Keeping a consistent schedule, that's hard. People now go, hey Jesse, I listen to your podcast every Monday morning on my way to work, because Mondays suck, but your podcast makes it better. And I'm sitting here going, shit, now that person's relying on me. Now this person's counting on me, and if I don't do it, I'm going to let them down. Which isn't a bad thing. It just keeps me in line. So, it's good. The other thing that's kind of interesting is keeping up with new lore developments. You know, if I have a scheduled podcast, but suddenly, bam, new data mined lore piece comes out, I really want to talk about that for 6 hours. But I can't. Unless the podcast is revolving around that, which is why some of the podcasts have been PTR related. I've actually had quite a few decent, positive comments about that, saying, hey, I like you covering the PTR stuff in podcast form, because it allows me just to listen casually. A lot of people click on our podcast expecting like a Bellular or Mr. GM quick breakdown. I feel like I have to give it discretion every time we do a podcast. By the way, this is a podcast, which means you will be here for at least 2 hours. Grab some tea and popcorn, or neither. But it's interesting because there's so much I have to keep up with the lore videos, and then the podcasts are really easy. It's just consistency. Keep that weekly consistency. I preach that. Keep your schedule, and then I realize, holy crap, this is difficult to do. So definitely a little bit more challenging there. Now, where are the lore videos? We keep coming back to that. And let me break down how the lore videos work with the Lost Codex. So it starts with me. And for the record, Jeff is cool with any topic. I'm like, hey Jeff, what topic do you want to do? He's like, I don't care. Let's pick anything you want. If we went Jeff's way, we would have gnome videos forever. And there's no problem with that. I would love that. But unfortunately, Blizzard, there's not enough lore to do that. So Jeff says, you tell me what video we're doing, and I'll get to work. So I sit here, I go, okay, we are doing X video. So I start the research. Every lore video out there, this isn't podcast or analysis video, this is the lore videos. I write 3 scripts. First one, I write in my Hearthstone journal book, bullet form. What do I want to cover? Some things I write that I don't want to cover, but I want to find vague ways to mention or reference in future videos. Second script is the lore, written as an actual script. And the third written form, I type this one out, is a script written to be narrated. Because when you read, if I write the lore about a certain Loa or the history of Zandalar, I can write that out like a Wowpedia entry. I can write that out as if I was typing an article for Blizzard or whatever. But it sounds awkward when you read it out loud, because it's meant to be read, not narrated. So then I have to rewrite it with character quirks and different pronunciations and different things of how a character or narration would sound. When I had to write the Xal'atath episode, the lore of Xal'atath narrated by Xal'atath herself, that was fun. That was hard, but that was fun, because I was like, okay, how the hell would an old god trapped in a knife tell her own story? It was fun. So after I do that, after I make the structured script, we get to the directing and scene construction, in which using Google Docs, I highlight every single line, and I add a comment, and in that comment is my screen direction. So I'll write, all right, opening shot, and Jeff and I have our own language. The map fades in, so Jeff has a fade effect. Or I'll say the map bleeds in, and so that's more like a liquid, like an ink blot. And then I'll say the map bleeds in, and icons of this race pop up all over before dissipating into dust. And then that's all in the instructions. So Jeff will read that. He'll go, okay. So what Jeff does is he makes a flat version of that, unanimated. He takes the map, puts the icons where they need to go, and leaves it as that. The animation stage comes later. My directions tell him what asset to use. So when I say use this character, he goes, which model do you want? Do you want the old model? Do you want the new model? Do you want the corrupted model? Do you want the uncorrupted model? Do you want one with a weapon, one with no weapon? I gotta make sure I communicate all this to Jeff. If I don't, Jeff's missing pieces of the puzzle. What asset to use? And where in-game is he finding this? And then we do the director's call, which we haven't actually released in a long time. That's where Jeff and I read through the script together, and I basically narrate the video for him, and then I talk about what I want done, so he can not only read what I want done, but also listen, say, that's a bad idea, here's a better idea. And I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing, let's do that idea. And we go back and forth. Then comes the voice work. So Jeff, at this point, is making all the flat stuff. I narrate, I talk to myself for a couple hours, then I listen to myself and hate myself, because that's not what I want to listen to, is myself. And
do you ever argue with yourself?
I argue with myself. I have been tempted to release the bloopers for some Lost Codex episodes, Holy crap, they can be vulgar or funny. I laugh at myself all the time after. I've been tempted to release the bloopers. I have never released the bloopers yet. And then what I do is Jeff takes his flat images, so he has all the slides that you see as flat, still images. Then he takes my voice file, and with each line, he adds a transition. So that map, he needs to add the bleed effect, and then he needs to blot in the different masks, and then he needs to dissipate them. It's all sitting there. The map, the masks are all sitting in place, but now he has to add movement to it at the same pace of which I speak. There's a lot of adding up. You can see where this gets time consuming. Here's the next time consuming part. At this point, I'm done. I'm done with the writing part. I've moved on to the music part. Jeff, every single page turn, every single little blip, when a character pops up, when a character moves, when a spell goes swoosh, when a rune goes vroom, all these different sound effects, every single thing you hear, Jeff has to custom add that in. And after he does that, he sends me a video of a file of the video with sound effects, sometimes with no sound effects. And then I have to, in one browser, watch the video. In a separate browser, listen to the soundtracks of WoW and find which music adds up well. Where I'm basically taking existing music and trying to pair it with the existing visuals. Sorry, I punched my microphone there. Don't do that when you're podcasting. Punch your microphone. That is a little bit time consuming, and then Jeff takes all of that, mixes the sound so the music can be heard, but me, the narrator, can be heard better, and then the video is rendered. So there's a lot that goes into this, and so my role is very heavy early on. Jeff's is very heavy middle to end, and by the time I'm done the music, I move on to the next project. I'm not going to sit around going, all right, Jeff, I'm going to sit here and watch you work. He does that for a couple days while I move to the next project, whether that's a stream-related project, podcast, anything like that. I move on to the next podcast, analysis video, anything, because he's doing that. And again, one visual person and one writer. So we're a small team. And that becomes a little bit... Not a little bit, that is exactly why it takes so long to put out our videos. Average time for a video, 3 to 5 weeks. Fast video can be done in 2 weeks. Fun fact, the Teldrassil video that we put out, the one where I voice a night elf, right, and tell the history of Teldrassil up and including the burning, we did that in 5 days. 5 days we did that in. And it nearly killed us. Jeff was up till 2 in the morning every night. I gave Jeff an incomplete script. When I started, I said, here's the first paragraph, start on the visuals. We have a week till Battle for Azeroth. Let's go. Pulled a Bill O'Reilly, we'll do it live. And Jeff started going, and basically, usually I say, here's the full script. But I said, here's this part. And Jeff started working his way down. And as he worked his way down, I started adding. He almost caught up to me a couple times because I had to write the script, do the 3 times writing, all the directions and stuff like that. 5 days we did it in. And it nearly killed us. So we learned a couple lessons from that. We learned that we can do it under fast pressure, but we also got no sleep that week. We got sick after because of that. But the video didn't suffer in terms of visuals. So we've learned some things for the future. And the big question that I get asked all the time is how do we make these release more consistently? And the obvious answer is recruit more people. We need more people to help us. Problem is we don't make money from this on a full-time level. This is not a full-time job. So when I commission an artist, like the Twitch emojis or the Discord emojis, you know, we make pocket handfuls of cash here and there that we can pay these artists. We commission, you know, we've commissioned X artists for a new BlizzCon shirt coming out soon. That obviously we are paying for. The Twitch and Discord emojis we pay for. But to our brand manager, you know, Zillions, we don't pay her. When Issei does a painting for us every lore video, that's her offering. Give me something to do. I want to do one of these. We don't pay her for that. When Jeff puts 60 hours a week into a video, he doesn't get paid for that. We do make some money through Twitch, YouTube, and Patreon, but it's still not enough to pay full time. So people say, oh, just hire more members to your team. I'm sitting here going, yeah, but I can't say, do you want to work for us for free? Because no one wants that. And that's an awkward saying. Hey, I love your... I don't know why my dog's barking at this hour. Hey, do you want to work with us on lore videos? Sorry for that. Someone has subscribed. Thank you for subscribing. Hey, you want to make lore videos with us for free and make nothing out of it? It's an awkward conversation, right? Money's always awkward. And I'm sure, Jay, you've been in this situation before.
I got a funny story to tell you, actually. So in my hometown, my show has grown like exponentially, right? Like my hometown considers me a celebrity because I live in a small little cow town, right? So my podcast is like the top podcast in the area that we're in our, zip code. I'm sorry, area code. I actually had someone who reached out to my page on Facebook, and they sent me their resume. Like, they sent me a resume and everything, like as if this was applying for a job. And they were like offering to do editing and all this stuff. And I'm like, great. But I'd never posted that we were like, like that. But they messaged out to me and they're like, I want to be paid this much. And I'm like, my first response was this. I was like, so that's how much I'm paid? Yes. Well, great. I would love to be paid for this too. And that was all I had to say. And you see the response, oh. But it's funny. I have a group of people who work with me, though, who don't get paid, but they get to get paid with other things. I think what you need to do is you need to look at it in a different light. And the funny part was that the guy sent a resume. I know it's not the best funny part, but still funny nonetheless. Is that there's other things you can offer from being where you guys are at, and especially given the amount of viewers you guys have and listeners. What I pay my crew members in is this: they get to go to convention for free. They don't edit; they're not editors, but they do the other work for me, which is they take pictures for my content. Because I do convention work, right? But for that type of work, what you guys can do is you guys could send people to conventions on behalf of Lost Codex. And here's the thing: you have people who would probably do it all over the world. You probably have someone in chat right now who probably lives in Northern California, where I live, and they may be able to go to this convention I'm going to this weekend and be able to meet Bam Margera and say, hey, I know you're not hey, what faction would you serve? If anything, would you serve the Alliance or the Horde, Bam? They're probably like, well, what's the Horde or the Alliance? I don't know what the hell those things are. Just pick one. Okay, Horde sounds good. But I'm saying you can send people out on that kind of stuff. But I think it's funny when people have this assumption that you make like, oh, you're a YouTuber, you make money. It's like, we wish we did.
That's exactly it. It's this, and I always, money's a touchy subject, right? And people would message me early on and say, like, Jesse, like, is there a way we can support you? And I'm thinking like, this is, yes, but I'm honored. I'm not creeped out. I'm honored, but I've always found money to be a touchy subject. So when we opened our Patreon, I was very like, and when we got kicked off of YouTube because of Sargeras, it was very like, we were recommended, tell people about your Patreon page because things happen, mistakes happen like this, and I'm floored when someone signs up for Patreon, whether it's the $50 tier reward or the $1 tier reward. I'm sitting here going, you're giving your real life money to me because you like that to me, that's more than I can even possibly try to thank them for, which is why I'm always looking for ideas on what I can give back on Patreon. But it's a way to support. So what we do, in case you're wondering what our Patreon and our Twitch and our YouTube funds go to, is it goes to commissions for merchandise, things that are going to be sold at BlizzCon. It goes towards buying new equipment. Jeff and I just invested in some recording equipment for BlizzCon. It goes to a brighter future for the Lost Codex, where the more money we can put into merchandise, the more we grow, the more people come in, blah, blah, blah. And one day, I would love to be able to do this full time. I would love to be at the subscriber count on YouTube that my weekly podcast and my weekly analysis video and our tri-weekly, quad-weekly lore video is enough to support what we do, and our Twitch streaming is enough to support what we do. We're not there yet, but the support that everyone gives, whether it's monetary or not, clicking that like button, watching the stream, that counts, that matters, and that means so much to us. And one day we hope to be there. One day we hope to be able to make these lore videos full-time. You know, Blizzard said, we like what you do, but we want you to do it for us. It'd be like, goodbye, Canada. Here I come. And, you know, that would be a dream come true to, you know, and I'll just say, like, Blizzard, come on, there's a whole bunch of lore out there that you don't really have ways to put out there, so you need a way. You know, Jeff and I just, we're available. But the point is, one day we will do this full time. And until then, the support, whether you can afford to give us a monthly dollar donation or a Twitch donation with your Twitch Prime, that thumbs up or thumbs down if you don't like it, that means something to us. So please, thank you for all the content creators out there. Thank you for your love and support, because it really does. And I think this is appropriate soft Jaina music for this moment. It means a lot when we hear people express their love and their support for stuff like that. So thank you guys. We do have a Patreon page. We do have the Twitch page. We do have our YouTubes. Subscribe, comment, thumbs up, whatever you got to do. But again, I've had people say, if I don't subscribe to Patreon, do I miss out on exclusive videos? You miss out on some behind the scenes stuff, and you miss out on some early access stuff. But there's never going to be a lore video only for patrons. So if you want to support us, the means are there. So thank you guys. Thank you from me and Jeff and everyone here in the Sanctum. Thank you from everyone we've worked with, who we've paid commissions for, whether it's upcoming shirts, upcoming other merchandise, emojis, stuff like that. Thank you guys. And some closing thoughts for you, Jay. What's some future content we can look forward to from you?
Well, it's been a while since I've done anything like this, so I have had recordings in the works for WoW-based content based on songs. And basically, I had put those on hold because I had been busy for so long. I was working at GameStop, and I didn't have time to do anything. But now I have time to do that, and I aim to release some songs after BlizzCon. One song in particular is something that Jesse and I both worked on together, and we submitted it. But unfortunately, we're not performing it at BlizzCon this year. But hey, more time to hang out with Jesse and other members from the Lost Codex and from people from Final Boss TV, Talias and Nevatel, and whoever else is going to be there. Huh? Some guy named Final Boss. Some guy named Final Boss TV. I don't know. Some guy. I heard he's a big fan of me because, you know, he goes by the name Bay, and he based it on my name because I'm Jay, you know? So he just tried to add a B to it. I don't know. Some weird guy. I think he streams on Twitch.
I was going to ask Jay if he could sing a little bit of the song tonight, but he's sick, so we're going to give him an out here. But Jay is coming back before BlizzCon. So Jay, you have a week, if not 2 weeks, to get your ass better. Drink your orange juice. Drink your water. Drink whatever you got to drink. And get better. Because people are going to want to hear this song. We wrote it. Jay, how many calls did we have? I was walking to get a burger. It was my cheat night. Literally, you and I was walking down a dark road, and I was singing out loud. I was singing my Alliance tune, and then I'm like, okay, let's go to the Horde one. What about? And then Jay was singing in my ear, and I started singing, and this guy's like in this car with his window down looking at me, and I'm like, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm talking to Jay the Bard. What's up?
Literally, I messaged Jesse the day before, the last day, to submit the songs, and I had a song in mind, and I said, I don't want to do this, Jesse. I need to rewrite this whole thing right now, and I want you to help me do this. This is what I have so far. And quite literally, Jesse and I both writ equally half the song on separate parts together.
Half the song.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, Jay had the melody and all that, but I came in to make sure it was lore accurate. Don't worry.
And we had arguments about this.
We did. What about? I said, no, that just sounds weird. Yeah, but it's set in a Jay. I'm telling you, that sounds weird. But it sound, and then Jay would like sing it out, and I'm like, it sounds really good though. But lore wise, it sounds awkward. So that's coming in the future podcast. It's coming soon. Jay and I have also been working on a project for a long time.
Half the year.
Our
can we just announce what officially it is, at least? Because I think we should at least announce it.
I think we've talked about it.
I can at least hum the melody and do that. I can do that because that's a lower voice thing.
My voice is a little bit low right now because it is late here, but we won't go into too much detail about it. But Jay and I are writing if you guys are a fan of the dwarf song from The Hobbit, or any of those sort of rustic folklore songs,
I'll give him the melody.
Give him a preview. Hum the preview.
Okay.
So, Jay and I are working on a dwarf song about the War of Three Hammers that happened many years ago between the Dark Irons, the Bronzebeard, and the Wildhammer clans. And we want it to be a folklore song that all dwarves sing. Some verses will be sung Dark Iron, some verses will be sung by the Wildhammer, but ultimately it's going to be a song written by dwarven historians. Jay and I have had a lot of projects between now and then, but we started it. We just got to finish it. So it's coming TBD. We don't know when.
And the melody is done. Like, there's nothing else to add to with the melody. The full melody is set. The idea is set. This was one that is not going to be something that we're just going to go and write in one day kind of thing.
We're gonna get it right. We're gonna make sure we do. We're gonna do it justice. Do it justice. Jay, do you want to announce who your guest is?
Sure. So, this guy just called me right before Jesse was gonna go live on stream.
Literally, I'm sitting on Discord with Jay, and his phone starts ringing. I'm like, Jay, you might want to answer that.
And this man will be a guest on my show this Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. To give you guys to pronounce like this, come on and stay a while and listen. We have Michael Goff, the voice of Deckard Cain from Diablo, the series, as well as Tassadar from StarCraft. And he's every Nord in Skyrim, basically. He will be live on my stream at 7 p.m. I have to teach him how to use Discord. That's what the whole discussion was.
I was listening. I'm like, no, it's an app, so you don't have to download it. It's called Discord, and I'm sitting here going,
yeah.
Who's he? He's talking to his mom. Who's he talking to? And then he goes,
yeah, I'm talking to my mom how to do Discord.
First thing he's like, Jesse, you know how much I love you. I'm like, why? He goes, that was Deckard Cain. I was like, why didn't you invite him onto the podcast? But
he's my guest.
Too short a notice.
Yeah, too short notice. Like, I can't just do that. But but we have that, and we might have some more World of Warcraft based voice actors coming at you sooner than you think. But Jesse, thank you for having me here on the show. I appreciate that, man. I love to see that you've been doing the podcast thing. Appreciate all you do. And for all you guys over there who are watching or listening, this guy right here, he's truly passionate about what he does. Like, ever since I've met this guy, we clicked. Like, we just clicked and instantly became like brothers in arms, or in this case, brothers in lore. And I could tell you, and I wanted to say this, and I do apologize for kind of backtracking a little bit on this as we're closing. But one of the things you can do if you want to support like a content creator like Jesse, for example, is that I'm a voice actor now. I do get paid for my voice work, but I told Jesse, let me know if you need voice lines. You have Undead?
The damn stand ready.
I'm ready to help that out. And that's how you can do. You don't have to be just an editor. You don't have to be someone that knows how to do machinima. You can reach out to a content creator in your own way. And if you don't have the money, maybe you have a voice. Maybe you know how to play an instrument. You have something to offer. The thing that we have that we struggle in life with anything, and the reason that we did this content creation as well is to talk to you, maybe inspire you to get into content creation, is that maybe you just don't know how to get started. The problem with that is the way that you're thinking. We build these walls for ourselves and around us because we don't want to see past the potential that we have. You have to knock down that wall and ram through it as hard as you can and just jump into it, man.
Turn that what if I did this into a I'm going to do this. I have done this. That's how the Lost Codex started. I said to Jeff, we make one video once a year for BlizzCon. What if we did something more? What if we told the lore through visuals? And bam! Here we are, Lost Codex. Bam!
In my situation, for BlizzCon, I've watched majority of the talent contests. I said, all these songs are, played as if they're pop songs or, just fun songs. What about doing a song that was done in the perspective of a player? Singing of the player base's accomplishments through World of Warcraft from an immersive side of it. And look where it got me. I'm very thankful.
Jay,
I'm very thankful.
I'm thankful that you came up to us at Calm Before the Storm. I can't wait to hang out at BlizzCon. If you guys are going to BlizzCon 2018, this guy's going to be here, and this guy is going to be here. We're both going to be here. Lost Codex is going to be there in full force. Myself, Jeff, Zillions, our brand manager, hanging out with Jay the Bard, some guy named Final Boss. He's going to be there too. So if you guys are going...
He's your fanboy, right?
I guess. I think so. Actually, we first premiered on Twitch on Final Boss TV, so go give Bay some love. Jay, thank you so much for joining us for episode 25. Holy shit! Of Decoded. It's been quite the ride, and we have some BlizzCon hype coming up. We've got BlizzCon, 2 episodes of BlizzCon stuff to talk about in the weeks to come. So if you don't like BlizzCon, this is tap out. If you don't like BlizzCon, how can you not like BlizzCon? This is buckle up, guys. There's so much to talk about, both in terms of building hype and survival guide and what to do at BlizzCon, but also speculation, what's to come, what's going to happen. So Jay's going to be back before then. And then if you're lucky, we might do a live stream at BlizzCon, and maybe you'll see Jay live, hanging out with me and Jeff and everyone else. If you're going to BlizzCon, let us know. Come say hi. Let us know in the comments. And tune in next week for the first BlizzCon Hype Your Pants Up episode. Jay, thank you so much for joining us on episode 25 of Decoded. We'll see you guys for episode 26 next week. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Goodbye, everybody.